Holy Gospel according to Luke.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Now on that same day, two of them were going to a village called Emmaus, about 7 miles from Jerusalem, and talking with each other about all these things that had happened. While they were talking and discussing, Jesus himself came near and went with them, but their eyes were kept from recognizing him. And then Jesus said to them, "What are you discussing with each other while you walk along?" They stood still, looking sad. Then one of them, whose name was Cleopas, answered him, "Are you the only stranger in Jerusalem who does not know the things that have taken place there in these days?" Jesus asked them, "What things?" They replied, "The things about Jesus of Nazareth, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word before God and all the people, and how our chief priests and leaders handed him over to be condemned to death and crucified him. But we had hoped that he was the one to redeem Israel. Yes, and besides all this, it is now the 3rd day since these things took place. Moreover, some women of our group astounded us. They were at the tomb early this morning, and when they did not find his body there, they came and told us that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who said he was alive. Some of those who were with us went to the tomb and found it just as the women had said, but they did not see him." Then Jesus said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, and how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets have declared. Was it not necessary that the Messiah should suffer these things and enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, Jesus interpreted to them all the things about himself in the Scriptures. As they came near the village to which they were going, he walked ahead as if he was going on, but they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it is evening and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at the table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the Scriptures to us?" That same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. They were saying, "The Lord has risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then they told what happened on the road, and how he had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. This is the gospel of the Lord. Praise to you, O Christ. Please be seated. Grace and peace to you on this day from God our Father and our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Amen. When you get to the end of something, it's hard to know where to go. And when you've lost something, it's hard to know what to do. And when you're isolated from everyone else, it's hard to know what to feel, even if you had any control over that at all. It's very disorienting, this story. At least it seems that way to me when you think of these two disciples. Cleopas, who we've never heard of before or after. This is the only story in which we find Cleopas at all. And this disciple that has no name, which I think is one of Luke's clever ideas of putting each and every one of us in the story alongside them. They didn't know where to go. They didn't know what to do. They didn't know what to feel, even if they had any control over that at all. This is what it's like to walk on that 7-mile journey to Emmaus. So first off, when the story comes to an end, we don't know where to go. This seems kind of intuitive to me. We know this, right? We get to accomplish some goals, or even if we don't get to the end of our goals, we get to a place where we kind of ask ourselves, okay, now that we're here or in this place, what happens next? Not actually on the calendar a year ago today, but a year ago liturgically today, we celebrated the completion of our building project. We had the bishop here, we had a great party, we had all kinds of people, we had a wonderful celebration, and a lot of us, when it was all done, said this was great. Now what? This is kind of a thing that happens to us in our lives. If you've ever graduated something, or we have graduates coming up, either 8th grade or high school or college or grad school, a great journey. It comes together, it's exciting, there's opportunities ahead, there's some newness that's approaching, but there's some uncertainty too. And you get to that graduation and it's wonderful and it's great. Then what? If you've had a relationship end and you're not sure what it means, you also ask yourself that same question. Now what do I do? I kind of think these two are thinking that. Cleopas and the other disciple. After all, they've been with Jesus for an undisclosed amount of time. We don't know where they entered this story, since this is the only time we ever hear from them. But they're able to tell this stranger on the road all about who Jesus was, what their expectations were, and what happened to him as he was arrested and taken from them and tortured and killed. And now they don't know where to go. I think for a lot of us, when we don't know where to go, where do we turn? We go home. Cleopas and the other disciple are walking home. I think we do that too in our own lives when we get disoriented by the world around us, especially with all the changes that seem to be happening, the divisions that are around us, the hate we see, the anxiety that everything provokes. What do? We want a safe place. We want to go home, and we long for that, and we search for that. And I hope we find exactly what these two find, is that Jesus is with us the entire time. When you get to the end of something, you don't know where to go. And if you've lost something, you don't know what to do. We've all lost many things in our lives. This Friday, I lost my glasses. I have no idea where they are. They're all a big blur to me. And thankfully, I have an eye appointment tomorrow, so that's all right. But little things we lose all the time. I have an ongoing epic struggle with my keys and wallet. Tammy can tell you about that. But there's the big things we lose too, right? The relationships in our lives, the people that we care about, eras that come to an end, tragedies that we see. I mean, think of all of the loss that we've witnessed in the last several weeks of these horrible attacks on people. Whether it's been in Christchurch, in the mosques, or in Louisiana, in some of the African American congregations, or in Sri Lanka, in the hotels and in the churches on Easter Sunday, or even yesterday in the synagogue north of San Diego. It's hard to know what to do. There is a feeling of absolute helplessness. And even if we think we know what to do, trying to convince others of what we should do also seems like a hill to big to climb sometimes, doesn't it? And yet, there's a story. Cleopas and the other disciple walking to Emmaus. They don't know what to do. They're walking away from all the pain and suffering that they've seen in the last week when this stranger starts talking to them. They start telling them about this Jesus guy that they know. And before long, he's opening to the scriptures to them. When you want to be on that 7-mile Bible study with Jesus? I sure do. Even when they're starting to part ways, they don't know quite what to do until they kind of say, hey, why don't you come in and join us for a meal? And when they're together, they realize something, and that is in the midst of that disorientation, of helplessness, of not knowing what to do next, the risen Jesus has been with them the whole time. When something comes to an end, you don't know where to go often. When you lose something, you often don't know what to do. And when you're isolated and feeling alone, there's that also that feeling that you have, lots of feelings you have. You can't really control your emotions, really. You just feel them. Is it anxiety? Is it anger? Is it worry? Is it rage? It happens. Yesterday, I was participating in a food drive with the fire department. They were raising food and dollars for the Shoreline Soup Kitchen and Pantries, which we do. I mean, that's one of our partners, too. We do the meals over at Grace. We do the meals over in Old Lyme. We gather food together. We bring it to the soup kitchen. We know them well. I like them. They're a great organization. They have this thing every year with the fire departments in the area where they also participate and raise food and dollars for the soup kitchen. So I said, yeah, I'd love to help with that. That'd be great. So yesterday from 9 to about noon 30 or so, I recruited Mia to come with me. The two of us sat at a table or stood at Stop and Shop. Some of you were there, so thanks for coming. And it was lovely. I bet we saw hundreds of people in those few hours. Some people I knew, like some of you. I know some people that work at Stop and Shop. They came out to say hello. Other neighbors and friends that I know also came to say hi. Lots of people I didn't know with a variety of responses of, man, they love the soup kitchen and they knew this was happening and they brought their gifts to share. That was great. Other people asked us, what is this for? And we told them we're with the fire department and the soup kitchen. Okay, great. Is there a list? They go shop and bring some back, or maybe they had some dollars to share. Some people just walked on by as we greeted them, which is also okay. I always feel a little funny when you're kind of a captive audience at the gate of a shopping establishment. So that was fine too. And then there was one particular gentleman. He had a scowl on his face when he got out of the car. We greeted him, and then he got kind of in our face a little bit, and he went on this several-minute rant about why we shouldn't help people or allow anyone else into the country, and he stormed off. And Mia and I, standing there in our fire stuff, turned and looked to each other and went, okay. And then he came out and he was looking just as grumpy. And I said to him, hey, have a great rest of your day. You know that old saying, if looks could kill? There was that, and he went off. I was thinking about him a lot yesterday afternoon, actually. Because I thought to myself, all right, why would you go to a food stand and complain to the fire department about helping people? And then it kind of dawned on me that maybe he had nowhere else to go with this. Obviously, he was angry. And I started to think, well, maybe he was alone, too. And I thought maybe I should have given him a hug, but maybe he would have thought I was assaulting him. I didn't need to get into that. Okay. But when I think of all the turmoil we see around us, especially yesterday, what happened here in San Diego, and all of these events that happen again and again and again, out of hatred, out of disgust, out of violence, and I wonder if a lot of it is people are alone and angry and don't know what to do with that. And in the midst of that, we were seeing these wonderful other interactions. There was this woman who approached us and asked for a list and came back, and she had like bags and bags and bags, like a whole full shopping cart full of stuff. And she put it in our box, and she said, there was a time in my life when I needed the soup kitchen, and I'm so happy that you guys are here. And I just wanted to say thank you. And we thanked her. We have those interactions too. And I hope that whole wide spectrum of us, wherever we fall in those places, this story could enter, because there's this amazing promise that whether we're together with a partner, whether we're alone by ourselves, whether the story feels like it's over or we're just so disoriented and we don't know what to do, that Jesus is there the whole time. I hope for this poor guy who was so upset yesterday that he can come to know that Jesus is with him the whole time. And for us who gather here, who come again to hear this Easter promise, who come with our own sense of disorientation, that we could, just as Cleopas and that unnamed disciple did, would come and see Jesus once again among us in the breaking of the bread. So let us come to this meal once more and see the risen Jesus.